Hello, hello. Welcome. Thank you for watching. I am Big Cheds. Today is November 4th. It's Thursday, 2021. I hope everyone is doing well. First of all, I would ask you to please hit that like, please hit that subscribe button. This is episode 9 of this wonderful new show on the Crypto Banter YouTube channel, Trading Wisdoms. You know, trading can be really complicated. It can be really hard. And what we're going to try to do, what I try to do is I try to make it simple for you. And the way we do that is we have an excellent format for the show. We'll start out by talking about some lessons from my book, Trading Wisdom, 50 Lessons Every Trader Should Know. This week, we're going to talk about how to fight that feeling of FOMO, which I know is so hard for everyone. Kind of the middle portion of the show, we're going to do technical analysis. We'll talk about what's going on in the crypto market. We'll talk about Bitcoin and some of the other altcoins that are popular right now. And then we bring on guests. We bring on some great guests. We have Gareth Soloway. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. A great guest this week. And that's kind of the format of the show. If you don't know who I am, I'm a newbie helper. I'm a chart nerd. And when I got started, I made so many mistakes. And, you know, after I learned some of those lessons, I learned how to adapt and hopefully not make those mistakes again. I started to teach other people, you know, and through the years, through my blog, through my Twitter account, I grew as a trader, as a teacher, and that led me to publishing this book and now this wonderful opportunity with the Crypto Banter family. So with that, let's get this party started. So again, thank you for watching. Please hit like, please do hit subscribe. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We'll first mention our wonderful sponsors. First of all, we have Trend Spider. They are just a fantastic charting website. If you're looking to get into technical analysis, which I think you should do. If you're in something, you should know what the trend is, where it's going. They're a very innovative site for the Banter family. There's a great sign-up deal. Check those details in the video description. I believe there's a 1-week free trial, so you really have nothing to lose. You know, to check them out, all the patterns you're looking for, all the different indicators you've heard of and more. Just a great, really a great option for you if you're looking to get into technical analysis. Our other sponsor is Bing Bon, one of my favorite trading exchanges. If you're looking to trade crypto, which I like to do, some of you might even trade Forex, commodities, global indices. These folks have it all. You can do custom leverage. You can do copy trading. I know some of you are into that. It's a very easy to use interface. They're very reliable. They're very safe. Check out the details as well. We've worked out a very nice deposit bonus for you in the Banter family. Make sure, you know, to be eligible, make sure you transfer in, you know, USDT. Make sure you transfer in Bitcoin or Ethereum and start trading. So I'm happy we got that out of the way. I'm very thankful of our wonderful sponsors. I am Cheds. You can find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. I tweet a lot, probably too much, but check me out there if you're interested. If this is your first episode, please go to the Crypto Banter YouTube page. Hit subscribe and go to the playlists. Check out Trading Wisdom. We have a wonderful playlist right now. This will be episode 9. FOMO, you know, how to fight the FOMO. Check that out. Watch all the other old episodes. This is timeless education, timeless wisdom. I would encourage you to check that out. If you are so inclined, please do check me out on YouTube. I am at Cheds Trading. I have my own playlist based on the book Trading Wisdom, where I'm doing one episode at a time, and you can check that out, one lesson at a time every 3 or 4 weeks. Check that out if you are interested. And the book is available on Amazon. It's Trading Wisdom. Please check that out. Kindle, paperback, or hardcover. And lastly, if you are interested in learning how to do technical analysis, please check out Bitcoin Live, where I'm a founding analyst, the best-in-class educational platform for crypto. But you folks are here for that Trading Wisdom. I'm going to read to you from one of the chapters, one of the lessons in the book about how to fight FOMO. Here is the about the author and the introduction section. I'll leave this up here for just a moment. You can hit pause, read this on your own time. It will give you a little bit of a sense of who I am, how we got here, and where we're going. So thank you Thank you, of course, for watching. So where are we at today? How to fight the FOMO. That's lesson 25. This is a tough one, right? It happens to me all the time. You end up buying the green, you end up selling the red, and then you end up saying, how did I get into that position? What happened? So let's jump right in. Again, thank you for watching. We see the comments. Please do reach out to us. Let us know how you're doing in the comments. I love the feedback. I love to hear from you. So if you're reading along from home, we're going to go right to page 61. All right, page 61, Fight the FOMO. So we're going to start out the chapter with a quote. Quote, "It's easy to feel left out in this type of climate, seeing everyone on Twitter going nuts over plays you are not in. Stay patient. Don't let yourself get caught up in the emotion and stick to your plan. Be patient, be careful, and choose your plays wisely." I go on in the book. I say FOMO stands for fear of missing out. And it's something that is difficult for even the most veteran of traders to avoid. FOMO messes up your entry point, starting the trade out on the wrong foot and often leading you to cut later for a loss. If all you are worried about is missing the opportunity in front of you rather than protecting your bankroll, then you have fallen victim to FOMO. So we've all been there. We're not in a play, but we follow people on Twitter and we just see everyone's talking about this play. Let's call it, XYZ. And everyone's in XYZ and they're tweeting out their gains. They're talking about the Lambos they're buying and they're talking about how it's going to be a 50 bagger from here. And it's really easy to get caught up in that hype, especially if you've been having some tough trades recently. If you're in a tough streak, you're in the middle of a tough streak, and all of a sudden you see, everyone else is doing great. Why am I not doing great? You know what? I'm going to jump on the train. But you need to understand, when those people are tweeting after the gains, a lot of the gains have already happened. They're tweeting kind of that exuberance after some big green candles. And you, as a good chart technician, someone who understands how to find opportunity and someone who understands how to protect your bankroll, how to manage your risk, you understand that you want to buy dips in uptrends, right? You don't want to just chase after a green candle because you're buying from someone else who is smart enough to buy the support retest, who is smart enough to buy the blood in the uptrend, right? You need to remember that you want to buy the dip in an uptrend. You don't want to buy that big green candle. Really, I think with one exception would be at a clear breakout level. A big green candle breaking right through a very clearly defined level. I think it's okay to buy there as long as you manage your risk and you say, I'm buying here because it's breaking above, say 100. But if it gets back below 100, you cut the trade. That's a good thesis. That's a good, reasonable trade plan to buy the breakout and manage your risk at that breakout level. So, don't fight the FOMO. Don't let the FOMO run your bankroll. You need to manage your risk, buy the blood, not the greed. Okay. I go on to say in the book, how does FOMO work? Imagine you are having a really rough week of trading and you are starting to get frustrated because all your trades are failing. You scan around your watch list for new plays, but you cannot find anything you like. And then all of a sudden, your social media feed lights up. That's another lesson, by the way, social media. All of a sudden, your social media feed lights up. All your friends and the people you follow and respect online are talking about a play and how fast it's running. And this is important. And why they think it's going to keep running. So everybody who's in something, look at SHIB. SHIB was at like 0.000085, and it's been up like 1,000,000%, or I don't know, multiple million percent. It's just on a crazy run. And those people I'm not selling till a penny. I'm not selling till $1. It's like, if you believe them, you're going to chase that, but you've just bought the top of a pump. Okay. The people who are in it, they've convinced themselves it's going to keep running and they're not taking profit. But you on the sideline, you shouldn't be making a decision based on them and their trade plan and the fact that they're already in profit and they can probably lose a little bit of that profit before they sell. All right. So as I say in the book, quote, no reason to get all worked up and FOMO anything right now when there are a plethora of good setups available. Basically, as a general concept, there's no reason to FOMO when there are so many other good setups available, right? We trade in a 24/7 market. And not only is a 24/7 market, there's hundreds, there's main cryptos, there's the main ones, the 50, 30, 40, 50 ones that are on most of the exchanges that have price history. You can track them, but there's even more than that, right? There's even more that you can play. So there's so many opportunities. There's no reason to FOMO. Find a chart that is a clearly established uptrend and identify a dip level that you'd like to buy in that uptrend, right? Fight the FOMO by being a careful and methodical trader, looking for bargains and looking for discounts. Let me know in the comments, folks. Let me know in the comments. Let us know how you've dealt with FOMO, if you've experienced it. Let us know, if you can relate to any of this. So here's what I say in the book. I say an often overlooked part of successful trading is doing proper research and studying charts ahead of time. For example, if you put in the time to scan your watch list before the week starts, you will be in a better position to capitalize on a good setup when it comes your way. In other words, you will be prepped and ready for battle. So, as a general concept, you don't want to buy anything that you haven't been watching, right? You should have your watch list of the plays that you might be playing, and you understand those charts. You've studied them. You understand kind of the give and take and the ebb and flow of the price action. And when someone else mentions a play and you haven't been watching it, it's so easy to turn to that chart, you see the green candle, and you just chase after it. That's no good, right? Play the charts you've been watching, play the charts you've been studying. That's how you avoid the FOMO. Let's see. Why is it so hard to resist FOMO? When you believe everyone else is making money, you do not want to be left out of the party. So it can be lonely and depressing. This is especially the case when you have just had several big losses and are desperate to turn it around with a big win. Folks, I say this stuff all from experience. I've done all this. When you hear these words, I've been there, I've done it. So I know it's hard, but you have to be conscious of what you're doing. You have to ask yourself, am I just FOMOing into this other thing because I've been on such a terrible streak? I've been losing so much money. It's not going to end well. Trust me. Be more methodical, be more practiced, play what you've been watching, buy that dip in the uptrend. We end the chapter here with a quote. When everyone is super bullish and it seems like the price can't be stopped, there is FOMO. Right now, it's the opposite, and there is panic everywhere. What usually happens after these extremes? So I end the chapter talking about that kind of pendulum that swings. When everyone else is complaining about the price, when the price has been going down and people are getting ready to capitulate, that's when you should be buying. That's when you should be looking for opportunity. And when the pendulum is on the other side, when there's FOMO in the market, when everyone's talking about their huge gains, that might be a time for you to lock up a little bit of profit. So that was some excerpts from lesson 25, right? Fight the FOMO. So what are we going to do now? We're going to work, we'll do a little bit of chart work here with our wonderful partner at Trend Spider. We'll talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, I don't know about you folks, but it's just been choppy lately. So we had really some beautiful price acceleration. We consolidated a bit here. We have been talking about, if you go back and watch the prior videos to kind of get a sense of how we got here, we've been talking about that larger weekly consolidation where we topped out at 64, we bottomed at 30, then we topped out at 52, and we bottomed at 40, 41K. Thank you, Yoel Cohen. I appreciate the compliment in the book. So that was a tightening range, an equilibrium where you have lower highs and higher lows, and they get tighter, and then you break one of those levels for a signal. And in this case, we had a bullish break where we broke above 52K. We broke above 52K. And we had been riding that 8 EMA, that green line, an exponential moving average. Exponential moving averages give more price weighting to the most recent uh, candle rather than a simple moving average. For example, the 50 period simple moving average, each of those 50 periods has the same price weighting. So we saw this really beautiful price movement between the upper Bollinger Band and the 8 EMA. And we see all these dips, all these intraday dips and intra-week dips, if you will, right? They found support. Bulls bought the dip, right? Bulls rejected lower prices at that 8 EMA. And then we had on this day here, right, on that day there, which is October 21st, we had that first close below the 8 EMA. That's a somewhat of a warning sign, but it's really just a warning sign that you're going to consolidate a little bit. At that time, or on or about that time, we saw Ethereum start to bounce. And oftentimes when you think about market cycles, when Bitcoin pauses to consolidate, then Ethereum can run, then the other major alts will run. So we've kind of been in that climate for the last, I would say, 10 or 12 days. We've kind of been in that climate where Bitcoin's been consolidating and the major altcoins have been running. So as that was going on, we saw potential for a head and shoulders pattern. The way you trade a head and shoulders pattern is you act only when it confirms. It confirms when it breaks down below the neck base line. It did that on October 26th and 27th, bounced right back in it. So that punished shorters, that punished people who are trying to short Bitcoin at that level. That being said, if you had been shorting there, you could have closed your short when the price came back up above that level. But either way, it was a false signal. That was a bullish signal, essentially. When you have any kind of false signal is a signal in the other direction, right? So it bounced from there, and then we're still in this tight horizontal range, right around 60K in the bottom. And the top of this, the top of the right shoulder, 53.8K. Well, what happened 2 days ago, November 1st? We broke above that level. So if you look at the ADA chart, ADA had a failed head and shoulders as well. And that bull break above that right shoulder led to an excellent run. I think the price doubled more or less from that point. So a lot of people were expecting that to happen. That's our move. We're going to go to 75K. We're going to go to 80K now. But whoops, dropped right back. So is it a head and shoulders? Is it a bull flag? Like, none of that matters. You want to focus on key horizontal levels, right? If we're below 60K, I think we're due for more consolidation. If we're below 60K, it's much more likely we'll drop back to that 53K level. 52 to 54, roughly in that level. If we're above 63K, right, we're very likely to test and probably break that prior all-time high. So first of all, when it's confusing and you don't have a clear signal, do nothing. That's a very important policy, number one. Number two, always focus on the key horizontal levels. They're very clear. Often they're clear, they're easier to identify, and they'll give you a level upon which you can come up with a trade idea or a trade thesis. And why that's important is because that will help you know when that trade idea fails. Like, one of the most important things in trading is recognizing and respecting when your trade idea fails. Don't get stubborn. Don't just keep holding it, no matter what. Focus on, make sure you're respecting your trade idea when it fails. And moving on, we're going to bring in our great guest, Gareth, here in just a moment. I'll just, before I go, point out there's some altcoins are doing quite well right now, some of them. And so, for example, Sol has just been beautiful. We have this beautiful ascending triangle type of consolidation with a clearly marked horizontal resistance and a rising demand. We have a nice breakout from Sol. That's a beautiful chart. What do you do now, right? That's a great question. Do I FOMO into this chart? I'd say probably not. What I would want to do on this is I would either want to wait for that green line to catch up, and I want to maybe buy on the 8 EMA, right? In these strong uptrends, like, look what happened here. Sol, 8 EMA, 8 EMA, 8 EMA, right? Similar to Bitcoin recently. So I'd want to buy, as I said earlier, right? in the lesson, I'd want to buy a dip in an uptrend. That would be at the 8 EMA, or I would want to buy at this key horizontal level if we ever got back down to that. So that's something I'd be looking at. And also DOT has been just beautiful as well. This chart has continued to accelerate, and we have a recent breakout as well. We're in price discovery, the kind of brand new all-time high territory. So again, I would want to buy on a dip to either that moving average support or some type of a clearly defined horizontal level, and that would be somewhere around $45 or $46 on this one. So I hope that's been helpful for you. I think now would be a great time to bring on our guest. Mm-hmm. How are we doing, sir? How are we doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Cheds. And let me just say, your information is spot on. It's excellent, in fact. So keep doing what you're doing. The technicals you're talking are great.
I'll tell you that $20 I slipped you before the show was worth every penny.
Absolutely.
So thank you for coming. I haven't talked to you before, so I think it's nice to kind of touch base. But some of these folks may not know who you are. So I'd love to know a little bit more about you, how we can find out about your work, and maybe what you do in our ecosystem.
Sure. So been trading about 20 plus years. I started humbly in high school to mess around with fake money. I had never traded, invested in my life. And in high school, there was an investment club, and it happened to be in the late 90s when the dot-coms were going nuts. And, the dot-coms very reminiscent of a lot of the Shiba Inus type moves that we've seen here. And I had a fake 100,000 Yahoo Finance account. And I still remember vividly in like a week doubling it. Right. And it was fake money, but to a kid who had really no money, it blew me away. Right. So I got addicted. I went to college to try to get into trading, and I did what I could. And then really after college, I got into trading, and I had about $10,000 to my name. And I said, all right, I'm going to figure this out. And I stunk. I literally stunk. I knew nothing. I was falling into the FOMO you've been talking about. I basically worked 3 jobs. I would bartend at night, teach on the weekends, you name it, to refund my account so that I could continue to learn how to trade. And then bottom line is, over time, I started to learn from my mistakes. And eventually I started inthemoneystocks.com. I branched out into cryptocurrency, and that was in 2007. And now here we are in 2021. So it's been a wild ride, but I've made every mistake in the book. I can tell you that.
Well, I think we have a lot in common. Making mistakes is the only way to learn. And I think a lot of people who are new, and maybe you can speak to this, they get really frustrated and down on themselves for making mistakes. But what I think is, without making a mistake, you have nothing to draw upon. You can't draw a lesson on that. So what do you think about that? Have you gone through that as well?
Oh, absolutely. And it's so true. I mean, mistakes are what you learn from. You don't learn from your winners. You say, oh, I was so on, I made it. In fact, if you make money from doing something like poor, like FOMO, like let's say you jump on and it just goes up and you probably shouldn't have done that, that can actually reinforce a bad habit that gets you to do that again and again. And eventually it comes and bites you, right? So, learning from your mistakes is the key. I strongly, if you're a trader, suggest keeping a journal. Every time you do a trade, write it in your journal. And if you mess up, especially write what you did wrong, and then just kind of keep that in mind. Writing it down helps you learn a lot faster.
I love it. I love what I'm hearing. I really do, because that's a great way to do it. And maybe even, put those mistakes in bold, underline them, because it's so easy to avoid our mistakes. Cognitive dissonance, we only remember maybe our good trades and not our bad trades. So I love that approach. So what do you think about where we are right now? Do you think we are in kind of in a Bitcoin accumulation mode? Are we consolidating? What are your overall thoughts? Kind of, you can take this anywhere you want, but where do you think we are right now?
Right. So for me, I'm following I try to really stay hardcore on the technicals, just like you. I try not to let emotion and the hype get it to me. And, just like you, I heard you talking about how, when you hear everyone else going one direction, you usually want to be actually very, very cautious. We used to say back in the early days of my trading, when you went out to get a bagel at the bagel truck or a sandwich, and that guy was telling you to buy XYZ, that's usually the time to get out at that point. So keep that in mind. But when you're looking at the Bitcoin chart, you came up recently and you pierced that all-time high. Now, you just pierced it by 1 day. That's important, because what that is an institutional game to lure people into thinking it's a breakout, only to reverse it and take your money. And I've seen this on the downside and on the upside, where they play this game. Now, notice that breakout occurred right when the ETF was launching. And I talk to people about making sure you're aware of these kind of extracurricular things. If you're launching an ETF, do you want the price of Bitcoin to be collapsing, or do you want to push it up? So you could actually see going into the launch of that ETF that every little dip was getting pushed up on light volume because that firm did not want Bitcoin to break down. Now, once it was out and it broke the highs, you had max FOMO at that point. And then they're like, okay, well, we don't have to support it anymore. And it came back in here. So the one thing I would say is that I'm not saying it's going to go down. It's definitely consolidating right now. But honestly, I can't look at that chart and tell you the direction here. It could be consolidating for a major breakout, or it could be consolidating to actually break down to about the 53,000 level or so that you've been talking about.
I think it's, when you're speaking right to my heart, first of all, because we, buy the rumor, sell the news. And I was almost tempted to ignore that a little bit because I wanted to ignore it. Right. So I had to be conscious of my own bias. But, if we were rising in anticipation of an ETF or two ETFs, future spot, whatever, we have to have some sell-off as a result of that. And I think we, as chart technicians, we want to obviously be aware of an upthrust or a false break in either direction. We want to see levels when they're broken, respected. So it sounds like you're being measured with that. And I think that's great.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, and I'm not sure, let me see if I can share my screen. I would love to share my screen and just show you guys run something, but I want to show you a technique that I actually utilize to know if it's a real breakout or a fake breakout here. And so what you look for is something I call the confirmation signal. And basically you had Bitcoin high from April over here, right? And notice how you closed one day above. Now, that's classic institutional game playing. They want you to see that. They want you to get extra bullish and jump in and put your last couple dollars in. What you want to see to know if it's a real breakout or a fake out is what's called confirmation of that move. And what I look for is a subsequent move above that high where it closes above that high. And the reason why 2 consecutive higher closes is important is because it basically eliminates, or at least it lowers the probability that it's a game by the institutions, because they don't want to commit too much money to that game and then be wrong. So one candle above, close it. All right, they'll commit that money and then they'll reverse it and take everyone else's. If it's twice above, it's usually not a game. So that's just something I use for myself to really tell if it's a real breakout or it could be a fake out by the institutions.
I think that's wonderful. And you're speaking to a more conservative method, which I think over time will help you. People talk about a breakout. How do you confirm it? Is it a percentage move? Is it a wick? Is it one close or, two? I think that's up to each trader. But I think the way you've described it, and it seems the way you're trading it is the way to do it.
Yeah,
a little more conservative. Yeah.
And I just like to say too is it's important to recognize that just because something confirms a breakout doesn't mean you would jump on board. So for me, I always use the analogy of like, if you go to the mall, right? And let's say I needed a new pair of jeans and the jeans last week at the mall were $50 and I go this week and they're $150. All of a sudden I don't say, oh my God, I got to buy those jeans. They're $150. I'm like, wait a minute, this is messed up. I'll wait till next month when there's a sale and they're back at $50. Yeah. But for some reason in trading, people don't do that. They're like, the higher it goes, the more they want to get in. I apologize for that sound, but yeah. So, think about it like that. So if something confirms a breakout, what do I look for? I look for a pullback, and now it's a confirmed breakout. So I do buy the pullback, or I look for a bull flag, a nice sideways consolidation pattern that gives me that bullish sentiment indicator to now jump on board.
Do you think we're so that's a great way to think about Bitcoin? And how about altcoins? Is it Ethereum's time? Ethereum had that false breakout too.
Yeah, it did. Ether has broken up. The one thing about Ether is that it's actually confirmed. So that's the one caveat, and I'll show that on the screen real quick here. That's the one thing that makes me a little bit more bullish on Ether, at least as long as the confirmation doesn't fail. So you can see here was your previous pivot. It touched the line, pulled back. It closed above the line right here, pulled back. And then finally it closed above. And here's your secondary close above. So that tells me at least there's some teeth to the potential breakout. Now, of course, I'm not chasing Ether after it was, it was $2,500 here. I'm not buying it at 35 on the breakout. But I'm looking now to see if it consolidates sideways for a week or so, and then I would consider buying it for a move to about 5,000.
I think we're seeing also the ETH BTC pair. We're seeing strength in that, which you could just look at the Bitcoin chart and you can look at the Ethereum chart and draw your own conclusion. I often do that, but I think we're seeing hints that Ethereum. Personally, I think we're going to see hints Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin in the short term. Do you feel that way or?
That's certainly the way it's going. I think, I think that, eventually the question is, which are the new coins that, I mean, we've seen Solana get so much attention and do so many transactions. I mean, that's my biggest concern with holding things long term. I feel better about holding Bitcoin long term because it's an asset that the institutions and people are starting to talk about as kind of a digital gold. But ones that are used more for developing things like Ether, I always am a little nervous longer term, because does something supplant that? Does something get around it and become better for that? So it's just a tricky, and it's a personal preference, honestly. But again, I'm a big believer that inflation is here to stay for the long term. The Fed is going to make sure of that. You need to diversify out in gold. I know a lot of people don't like gold, but part of a good diversified portfolio has some metals in it, some cryptocurrencies in it, and stuff like that.
For someone who is a chart technician, you seem to have a good grasp of the fundamentals as well. So I think that's important. It's important to have some basic thesis as well behind your trades.
Yeah, I think being knowledgeable is the best, right? So you never want to just say, "Oh, I don't know anything about that," and not know anything. Whether you take it into account or not is up to you, but you always want to know, right? It's very important.
So what's your best piece of advice for someone who's new and just getting started? What would it be, some information or some advice you would leave with them?
So like you were saying earlier, I have to say that try to avoid the emotional response. In fact, strap a heart rate monitor on yourself. If you notice you're getting into a trade and your heart's going crazy, then that's probably a bad sign. When you get into an investment, it should be very structured. It should be logical. Think about being, for those of you that are Star Trek fans, like a Vulcan or a robot for robotics fans. You want to be like that. There's technical reasons you're getting in this. There can be fundamental reasons as well, but it shouldn't be like, oh, it's ripping to the upside, so I just got to jump on board and try to turn my 8,000 into 5 billion kind of thing. That's the 1 in a zillion chance. You want to be fundamentally sure of what you're doing and build slowly. Don't try to make $1 zillion overnight. That's how you'll lose it all. Think on a weekly, monthly basis and try to kind of get those returns on a slower basis, and eventually it'll compound into big money.
You are a wonderful guest. You're full of knowledge. I got to say, it's been a great pleasure. If you could just leave us again a little more information about you, so the folks are watching that can follow and find out what you're doing.
Yeah, so the best place to find me is on Twitter, folks. Follow me at Gareth Soloway on Twitter, where I post a lot of information, charts, occasionally a video. And then if you find that interesting, then come to inthemoneystocks.com, where you can find a service that I run called Verified Investing Alerts. So plenty of places to find me, but I always suggest the free one to start so you can see what I offer.
I know the Banter family is thankful to have you. I'm thankful to have you, and wish you a lot of continued success in the future.
It's been a true pleasure to be on, and I love talking technicals with you. I hope to see you again.
We will. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Wow, that guy blew my mind. I don't think he needs my book, I'll tell you. He knows every chapter in the book by heart, so that was impressive. Folks, this has been a wonderful show. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. I do want to once again remind you about our wonderful sponsors, TrendSpider. If you're interested in technical analysis, which hopefully you are, that's why you're watching this show, among other reasons, TrendSpider is a great way to get started. We have a wonderful opportunity for the Banter family. Check the details on the video. There's a 1-week free trial. There's some discounts. Really easy to use. All the functionality you'd be looking for. It's just a great site. Please do check out TrendSpider. And if you're looking for somewhere to trade, I definitely like Bingbond. It's a wonderful exchange: crypto, forex, commodities, indices, copy trading, custom leverage. I trust them. I think they're fantastic. If you're looking for somewhere to get started for trading, check out Bingbond. If you want to check out more about me, I am Big Cheds. Find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. While you're at it, go to the Crypto Banter YouTube, hit subscribe, hit the playlist button, go to Trading Wisdom, watch every single one of those episodes, soak up that knowledge. We've enjoyed doing these. This is a great show. We'll add this video to that list. And of course, please do consider going to my YouTube channel at Cheds Trading. I also have playlists, 50 lessons every trader should know. I'm doing one chapter for free at a time. I'll eventually get the whole book out. It will take a few years, but I'll get it done. For those of you who can't buy the book or you want to hear an audio version, definitely check that out. The book itself is available on Amazon. Trading Wisdom, 50 lessons every trader should know. It's had unbelievable feedback. So thank you to everyone for all your feedback, all your responses. Kindle, hardcover, and paperback version, all available for you. If you're interested in technical analysis, I am a founding analyst at Bitcoin Live, twice a week, long form updates on the crypto market. Check that out. The information will be in the description as well. I am Big Cheds. It's an absolute honor to do these videos and to be part of the Banter family. Until next time, Big Cheds out.